Hello, this is Duncan Welder, and I'm going to take us on a deep dive of instrumenting XAPI in discussion groups. Really, a couple purposes for this short video. Having a discussion the other day with the social learning community of practice for XAPI, and right now there is not a formal profile for discussion groups, forums, and tracking that activity. So, wanted to share the way that we have handled the instrumenting and setting up of XAPI inside VTA, the Risk Learning Management System, and really had a few different drivers there. One of those was as people interacted with forums, wanted some way to identify their star performers, what kind of hot topics were being brought up, who are people that may be struggling with topics, opportunities for creating some kind of learning or performance support intervention that could be used in areas where there are lots of questions around a particular topic. And what the result was is, well, there's a good screenshot of it there, or in the actual LMS proper, being able to see, oh, those nodes of topics, who the actors are that are interacting with those, and then the weight of these lines indicates the total number of interactions there. So again, a way to look at that data, they can give us some valuable bit of information, and hopefully do that consistently so that there are different sources of data providing that same syntax of XAPI, then we can report across those without doing a lot of juggling. So what we did is started off really looking at the different things people do inside a forum, and for each of those actions, mapping those back to the right verbs and determining what the context should be, to ensure that we were going to be able to capture the data we needed for reporting. So starting with that end in mind, some of these decisions were easy. So actor is it's a student in my world, could be an employee, really the person that is either, in this case, we're just talking about joining or leaving a group. Verbs. Did not want to create our own verbs or misuse something that other people had used, so we used joined and leave from the Rustici verb registry. We used some other verbs from the ADL verb library as well. But those are our two real sources for having verifiable verbs. There's an object, that's the forum itself, or the post that's being created. We use context pretty heavily for parent activity. So if we have a particular post, it belongs to a forum as its parent, and a forum can then belong to a class ultimately, or may be independent. And then finally, and this may be a bit of a more nuanced around the way that forums work in our LMS specifically, but we have two real ways of getting people into forums. They can manually request, hey, I want to join this forum, and get right in, or it could be a function of a class. So when I enroll in a class, I'm automatically added to a discussion group for that class, or maybe that when I finish a class and have a successful completion of my history, I get added to essentially what I think of as an alumni kind of forum. So let's take a look at one of these statements in depth, and we're going to go ahead and get into the weeds just a bit more than I normally do with this video, so that we can talk about the real structure of this JSON statement itself. So this is my join, and just looking at the individual pieces there, I'm going to blow those up. There's my actor, so who is making or joining this forum. In this case, it's Lisa Jones, and have her identifier there. And in my world, that's an employee ID number. It could be a mailbox as well, per the spec. Below that, I have my verb and object. So again, the verb itself is pointing at the IRI for that verb definition in the Rustici library there. And then towards the bottom, I have my context and extensions, where I can see that auto join type extension is included for us there. So again, just ways of getting down a little bit more into that data. And then if the alternative was to manually join someone to that forum, that's what that forum join type would look like. And then if someone leaves, what happens? Well, I have a leave verb, and again, it is going back to that Rustici XAPI registry. Kind of moving from there, what are the other things I do inside a forum? Well, sometimes I'm posting or replying to a post. So again, my actor, and you'll find this is pretty consistent, is the student. I have verbs posted and replied, again, both from those verified verb registries. I have my object, I have my parent activity, looking at that statement. Again, really focusing on the verb in this case, where it's displayed there and it's posted, where my agent and that information is very much the same. This is a good example of seeing that context where I have my forum that I have a topic 1 under another open forum belongs to a parent that is another open forum. So kind of just nesting down and trying to title those so that they made sense there. My actual activity is this topic 1 under another open forum, which is a child essentially of that another open forum. And then if I want to bounce out and take a look at a replied statement instead of the posted statement that we saw here, then we can go over and see our replied, and if I just blow that guy up, you can see again going out to that verb library and selecting that proper verb for it. So again, a lot of focus from a development standpoint on determining the proper verbs and structure, and far less time actually in doing coding around the work. Now, again, still have that same grouping down below, that context. And then the next thing that I see people doing inside forums very regularly is voting things up and down or accepting answers. There's also a verb, whether you believe it or not, called flag is inappropriate, which I hadn't even considered till got into doing this work. But here, again, from the registry, there's a voted up option as a verb. So we took advantage of that already existing verb. There's a downvoted, or voted down verb. Here's my forum topic with an accepted, because one of the things we can do inside the forum tool, our discussion group, is to mark an answer accepted. So something worked for me that someone had posted as a response, and I can mark that as accepted. Later we'll talk about what happens when something is no longer accepted, and how we handle that when we get into doing some voiding here. Again, context information down below, but here what says essentially is we have accepted this particular forum topic reply that belongs to this parent called Safety is Everyone's Job. And then finally, what I alluded to there a minute ago is what do we do about deletes, right? Because of perfectly normal in a forum or discussion group for someone to post something and then realize, oh, maybe that wasn't as accurate as I thought, and go back in and delete it. But because in XAPI we can't delete anything out of our LRS, all the statements are immutable, what we'll do is send a voided statement after when someone makes a delete, and that will in effect allow me to avoid showing those deleted posts in a query, or including those in any kind of queries there. So there, you can see that voided statement coming in, again, pointing out to the ADL's verb registry, and decided that that's also what we needed to do if something was unaccepted. So we've sent a void for the accepted answer there. So just a again, quick note on the verb libraries and some of the things we included there. So the voted up, voting down, join to forum, left to forums, are the joins and leaves, and really focusing on using two libraries and those that are popular there. If you're not familiar with those, I'm gonna drag my browser back over. So this is the ADL's library, right? So I can see my verb abandoned and abled and whatever I want to scroll through there. And there's a little definition out to the side, and then for the Rustici registry there, as a matter of fact, there's my flag as an appropriate verb with the URI there in front of it, so you can take a look at those. But again, all making a strong effort to make sure that we use good standard verbs. I do have links to both of those verb registries, verb libraries, as well as some other XAPI developer resources. This drills down into the second, and then up at the top, there's a link to an article in XAPI Quarterly covering this very same topic. So stepping through, if you do want to take a look, by all means do that. Again, if you ever have any questions, I'm always glad to help out. Anything XAPI, CMI5 related, anything LMS oriented or compliance driven, always glad to answer any questions that I can. You can reach me at duncanw@risk-inc.com or DuncanWIV on the Twitter.